vice president of Liberia has been arrested for drug trafficking. And surprisingly, there is a Ghanaian name in there. Who is this Ghanaian? What happened with this vice president? That is why I like to see it, to give you all the city. So, a few hours ago, the vice president or former vice president of Liberia, that's the woman we are seeing on the screen, her name is Jewel Howard, was arrested at Robert International Airport in the capital of Liberia for drug trafficking, right? But before you wonder why a former vice president will be linked to drug trafficking, let's learn a little about this particular woman we are seeing on the screen. So Jewel Howard is a very known political figure in Liberia because her story is kind of very interesting. In 1997, this woman appeared in the political history of Liberia by marrying the man that caused the very first civil war in Liberia, Charles Taylor. Now, in 1997, Charles Taylor won the presidency election in Liberia, became the president of Liberia after the first civil war. This woman at the time was, an educated person, a very soft-spoken person. So the people of Liberia felt for her after she was attached to Charles Taylor. Even though Charles Taylor was a rebel, that kind of hyper person, they voted for Charles Taylor and Charles Taylor became their president. Partly because of this woman. We are still learning about this former vice president. There was a U-turn in her story because after herself and her husband won the presidential election, that she became the first lady of Liberia, right? That was 1997. From 1997 to 2003, the husband lost the presidential seats of Janet Kwakosha, Nigeria, near their day. So the woman now was left alone in Liberia, because there were international forces that were on the husband, that he should leave the seat, that kind of thing. So the husband had to resign and then flee to Nigeria. Now, after the husband left to Nigeria, right, it was left with Mrs. Jewel Howard alone in Liberia. She lived there for a while. Now, when the entire pressure died down, she traveled to Nigeria to go visit her husband, Charles Taylor. When she got there, apparently she realized that the husband had another woman called Victoria. The husband was in love with another person, that kind of thing. So this woman went back to Liberia, went to court and said that she was asking for divorce because even she being associated with Charles Taylor, who is the husband, she's getting some ban on travels, like maybe getting visa to the UK, the US, because the US and the UK, they didn't like Charles Taylor. So Howard Jewels filed for divorce at court, and at the end of the day, she got it. That was when she started her own political journey. So she wrote through systems, she wrote through categories from this and that. She was going here and there in the political world in Liberia. But when she was trying to gain the political stability in the Liberian political system, right? You remember I told you that there is always a Ghanaian in every story. That is how it is becoming. Because if you all remember, in 2018, a partial Ghanaian won the Liberian presidency. That's the man we are seeing on the screen, George Oppong Weah. He became the president of Liberia in 2018. His dad is from Ghana, but he's a Liberian. When he won the presidential election, guess who he made a vice president? He made Mrs. Jewel Howard his vice president. So after all the political battle and going through all the systems, Mrs. Jewel Howard became the vice president of Liberia in 2018, vicing our own partial Ghanaian, Mr. George Oppong Weah. Now, fast forward to 2024. So from 2018, we are now in 2024, and the administration of His Excellency Oppong Weah, right, is over. That is also so for Mrs. Jewel Howard, because she was the vice president for Mr. Oppong, right? So the administration is over. There is a new president in town, and this is what caused the wahala. Now, the new president, that's also the man we are seeing on the screen, called His Excellency Joseph Boakai. And one of the reasons why the people of Liberia voted for this man is because he promised to Operation Recover All Routes. He promised to end corruption what is engulfing Liberia. He's going to make sure that he exposes the corrupt. He takes back what others are taking from Liberia and all that. So ever since he came, it's been operations upon operations. Now, in 2026 June, Immigration and Custom officers at the Liberia's Robert International Airport seized some packaged goods, right? On it was told that these are textiles and then toffees, you know, that kind of packed food stuff. That is what the person that was transporting the goods said it was. But then after the security forces seized those materials, they decided to open and they saw that it was compressed cocaine, compressed drugs, right? They seized it, about 19 kilograms of drugs. They seized it there. Now, after they seized it, the government of Liberia, who is now His Excellency Joseph Boakai, said that now I am creating an entire task force that is going to crack down on drug dealers, drug trafficking in the country, because apparently West Africa is being used as a transport lane for, you know, heavy drugs into Europe. So he decided to stage that manhunt using his task force. The task force started working. Fast forward from June to July 2026. There was another interception that was done on road. This one, it was some mattresses, foams, that was being transported on a truck. Immigration officers seized it at a particular town called Wazon. I am just a Ghanaian. That is where they intercepted these trucks. They decided to check inside these foams and they realized that the foams contained packed and again compressed cocaine drugs. 2 foreign nationals, they were, I think from Ukraine, were arrested right at the spot. Now, interrogations and intelligence investigations were going on. The links were coming out. Okay, you are sending it to this person. You are sending it to the other person. You are so the police were taking. You know all those movies that we watch. Okay, this one FBI. This one is linked to the other. This, you know, cartel is linked to this cartel. So that is what they were doing. They were gathering their informations together, asking the people that they've arrested already. Now, after being able to arrest 3 foreign nationals, which I'm going to leave their names on the screen because I am just a Ghanaian, these foreign nationals were able to link the entire drug trafficking that is going on in the country, the major amounts, because the one that they intercepted with the truck was worth $319 million. Right? All of it was linked to one particular woman in the political sector of Liberia, and that's the woman that we spoke about all along. Former Vice President Jewel Howard. But before they even went to arrest this woman got the hint that they've arrested her people. So immediately she took her passport. She wanted to leave Liberia. She was fleeing. So immediately she got to the airport. Her name was already flagged. They took her passport. They saw that, no, woman, there is no way you'll be able to leave Liberia. So there, today, she was arrested. So the former vice president of Liberia has been arrested, and this is the series of events that happened to her arrest.
The former Vice President Joel Howard Taylor has been formally charged in connection with the ongoing investigation into an alleged transnational narcotics network operating within and beyond the Republic of Liberia. Madam Howard Taylor was stopped from departing Liberia at the Robert International Airport and subsequently taken to the headquarters of the Liberian National Police. Following investigative procedures and review of the evidence presented by the Joint National Security Investigative Team, she has been charged with the following offenses. Under the Controlled Drug and Substance Act of 2023, violation of Section 14.83, unlicensed importation of a controlled drug or substance.
You know, I decided to search on the internet and see some reactions from some Liberians, and apparently you can see from their faces reporting the issue is like they are happy about it that she's been arrested, right? Everyone will be happy if a corrupt leader is actually exposed.
My Liberian people took a very good look at the video up on the screen. The former vice president of the Republic of Liberia, Madam Joel Howard Taylor, she just arrived at St. John. Yes, she just arrived at St. John. But guess what happened? She came with the former Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of Liberia, Cabinet Jana. And the man she came with,
But right now, there is just one question that a lot of people are asking. Before His Excellency, former president of Liberia, Mr. George Oppong Weah, left the presidential seat, right? There were a lot of backlash on them. Himself and his former vice president, right? Mrs. Joel Howard, there were a lot of backlash on the two of them before they left the presidential seat. Now they've left the presidential seat, and we have his former vice president being arrested for drug trafficking. So a lot of people are asking that, is Mr. George Oppong Weah part of the entire thing that is going on? And should he be scared of scrutinization? Because the next person is going to be him. Let's see what unfolds. Whatever that unfolds, like to be here to give you all the KE setup. Please do me a favor to like, you share, and then you subscribe. The room is bright because my name is Light. Bye.